Hey everybody, it's Christina of CraftyPaws. I'm so excited to share with you guys my first guest design team project for Scrapping for Less. I made this super cute shadow box card and I'm going to share with you guys the whole process, start to finish, mistakes and all. I was totally inspired by the scene paper from the Cartabella Country Kitchen paper pack, and as you can see, it played a major part in creating this shadow box card. Now, first I'm going to show you guys how to do the structure of the shadow box card. You take a regular 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, cut it in half, and then fold one of them, score it and fold it, and then cut off just a 1/2 inch. And here's the mistake, the first major mistake that I made that created the mistake all along through the card. That little piece that I cut off was only supposed to be 1/2 inch wide, but I made it 1 inch wide. Now this is the second sheet of cardstock, and I'm scoring it at 1/2 inch, 4 1/4, and 4 3/4. And now I'm burnishing those scored lines with my bone folder. And that basically creates the box part of the card. And I'm going to share with you guys now just a little tip of cutting off just a little sliver of that 1/2 inch section. Now I'm going to make the window opening, and I'm just using an oval die from Diamond Dies. This is the Diamond Dies oval nesting die set. I'm going to put links to all of the main materials that I've used other than the Scrapping for Less card kit. Now this is the background scene that inspired the whole card, and I'm cutting it down so that it fits on the back panel. So this is going to be the scene in the opening. And I'm just trying to measure this out here, and really, rather than it being this narrow, it actually should be 1/2 inch wider. And that's a mistake that I'm continuing on to make because I had cut down that back panel too much. I'm just cutting it down so that it fits onto that back panel. I'm going to glue it down, and you'll see I was sad to see that this really cute cow and pig pattern paper was on the back of the scene because I really wanted to use it, but I am able to use a little scrap of it for the front of the card. Now on to the next steps for the card structure. I'm putting on some really strong double-sided tape here, and I'm putting that onto the little 1/2 inch segment of that windowed card stock piece. I'm taking off the release paper, and then I'm going to put it right up to the score line of that other sheet of cardstock. And see, now you can see it's already forming the box opening. I'm also at this point going to stamp out the sentiment that I want on the inside of the card. You saw that there, I utterly adore you. And now I'm putting more adhesive tape on that back panel. And I've just flipped the combination of papers over, and I'm putting one on each edge of that last panel. This is the widest part of the second sheet of cardstock. By the way, if you're interested in all the measurements, the correct measurements, and the assembly, it'll all be listed in detail on my blog post, which I will link to in the description box below. Now here you see what I had to do to fix the problem. I had to seam the extra pieces together, and I had to rip apart the card construction that had adhered. So I'm sharing with you guys how I kind of dealt with the mistakes. I also added some cloud punch outs that I did with an old Fisker's punch, and I'm showing you guys the mistakes that are basically pretty hidden because of the shadow box structure. I basically had to cut additional strips of that scene paper and then seam them together on the back with tape. Now for the super cute cow from the Miss Moo stamp set. There's a second cow there, but that's for a future card. I just wanted to share with you guys the stamping of this little cow on some cardstock. And then for the front of the card, I'm also using a sentiment from that stamp set. It says, "I heard it's your birthday." I love punny sentiment, so this was perfect to keep the front cute and alluding to what's going to happen on the inside, but keep it relatively simple. So I just have that sentiment, and then for the card front, I'm using a Simon Says stamp stitched squares die set, and I've made a little frame and then used a scrap of that patterned cow paper for the inset. And I think that keeps it really cute, coordinated with the inside, but relatively simple because the inside is going to be so busy. Now for the right side of this oval, I've fussy cut out from that scene paper again, another little house, a little tree, and a path. And I just thought that would add nice dimension to the inside of the card. And now I'm going to quickly color in this adorable little cow with a flower and it's tucked behind its ear. And I'm using some warm grays for the white area. I'm using the W0 and just putting in some shadowed areas. And then I'm using a W5 to mark in the black spots. And I'm using a W5 because I didn't want to lose the black of the eye in that little spot on the face. And I'm going to go in now with a W7 to color in the hooves and also to add a little bit of darker areas to those spots. So the lower parts, the cast shadow from the head, the lower parts of each spot on the edges. I just wanted to have it not look so flat. So I wanted to go back in and blend in with the W5 again and the W7 to make sure each of the spots had some variation in color. I'm also doing the cast shadow from the flower there. Re-emphasizing kind of the darker areas of the spots along the edges, and then blending back in with that W5. For the flower, I used a Y38 for the center and then R89 for the petals. And then for the udder and the inside of the ears, I'm using an R20, and then I'm going to go blend back out with a little bit of the W0 just to add a little bit more shadowing. I'm using a C0 for the horns and then the fronts of the hooves. And now I'm going to use a white gel pen to add some highlights to the horns and the hooves and reestablish the whites of the eyes. Now I wanted to show you guys, for fussy cutting, I just used regular Fisker's spring-loaded scissors, but that little area between the body and the tail, I used an X-Acto blade to get out that little section. I wanted it to look really well fussy cut out. Now I'm using a tuxedo black Memento marker to ink all the edges of this fussy cut little cow because I didn't want the white areas of the cow on the edges of the paper to show. And I think it gives a really nice finished look when you do that inking. And now I'm going to put this focal point cow in the lower left, overhanging that oval again. And I think that that cow looked a little like it was floating, so I decided to give her a little shadowed area so it looks like she's standing on a little mound of grass there. I've used a C0, I believe, just for that area. And then I decided I'm going to add a little bit of green to that off camera, I believe. I just added a little more of the grass. And that's the finished card. I added a few more clouds to the upper left, and that's really it. It's relatively simple. If I hadn't made the mistake, I think this would have come together a lot more cleanly. I hope you enjoyed the process video. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys are having a wonderful crafty day.